Ladies and gentlemen, most people believe that connection, closeness, and emotional openness are the keys to receiving love, validation, and attention. But in truth, what creates the most powerful dynamic in relationships is not emotional intensity, it's energetic sovereignty. Hence, when a woman becomes emotionally detached, she doesn't become cold or closed. She becomes aligned. She reclaims her power. She stops looking to the external world, especially to a man, to define her worth, her value, or her identity. She becomes the creator of her own emotional reality, and that changes everything. An emotionally detached woman is not lacking emotion. She simply no longer allows her emotional state to be dictated by someone else's behavior, moods, or inconsistency. She has stepped out of the subconscious programs that tell her she must please, chase, fix, or prove herself to be chosen. Instead, she begins to vibrate at a frequency that says, "I choose me." And from that frequency, everything begins to shift. The moment a woman pulls her energy back into herself, the field around her changes. She no longer leaks her power through overgiving, over-explaining, or waiting for validation. Instead, she becomes a magnetic force. Why? Because emotional detachment isn't about disconnection. It's about coherence. It's the ability to observe without reacting, to remain in your center while the world moves around you. That calm presence, that non-attachment to outcome, creates mystery. It evokes curiosity. It commands respect. Men, like all of us, are attuned to energy. And when they sense that a woman is grounded in her own self-worth, that she is not operating from lack or need, they feel it immediately. It's not what she says or does. It's how she holds herself. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't demand, she allows. She doesn't collapse when she's not chosen, because her value is not dependent on being chosen. She already chose herself. This kind of energy is rare. It's clear, centered, and unapologetic. It doesn't beg for love. It becomes love. And from that state, she naturally receives more attention, more commitment, more respect. Not because she manipulated her way into it, but because she aligned with the version of herself who no longer settles. She's not emotionally absent. She's emotionally mastered. When a woman reaches this state, she no longer fears loss. She understands that anything meant for her will resonate with her frequency, and anything that doesn't match that frequency will fall away. She lets it, because her peace is not negotiable. Her heart is not a bargaining chip. Her energy is sacred. And once she starts living from that truth, the world, including the men around her, responds in kind. Detachment is often misunderstood. People think it means indifference or emotional coldness, but true detachment is something entirely different. It is the ability to hold space for your emotions without becoming consumed by them. It's the freedom that comes when you stop attaching your worth to someone else's validation, behavior, or affection. When a woman becomes emotionally detached, she steps out of the reactive state and into the observer state. She doesn't suppress her feelings. She simply no longer allows those feelings to drive her decisions or define her sense of self. She understands that emotional attachment often leads to dependency, and dependency can lead to misalignment. When she practices detachment, she begins to embody an energy that is neutral, clear, and powerful. She no longer chases connection out of fear or lack. Instead, she lets relationships be what they are without trying to control or force outcomes. She trusts that what is meant for her will remain, and what is not will naturally fall away. That trust becomes a signal to the universe and to everyone around her that she is secure within herself. This signal is magnetic. It's not loud or demanding. It's calm, confident, and grounded. The emotionally detached woman doesn't act from emotional urgency. She pauses, she breathes, she reflects. This space between stimulus and response gives her power. It gives her clarity. She is no longer at the mercy of mixed signals or breadcrumbing behavior. If something doesn't align, she doesn't beg, plead, or overextend. She simply steps back. That stepping back is not a tactic. It's a reflection of her internal stability. Men, whether consciously or not, feel this shift in energy. They sense that they are dealing with someone who cannot be emotionally manipulated or controlled through inconsistency. Her detachment sends a message. I am whole with or without you. And that message, rooted in emotional maturity and energetic alignment, creates a powerful dynamic. It invites presence. It evokes pursuit. It activates respect. Magnetism doesn't come from what a woman wears. says, or does. It radiates from her energy field. It's a silent, invisible force that others feel without needing explanation. When a woman becomes emotionally detached and self-contained, she begins to emit a different frequency, one that draws others toward her without her needing to chase or perform. This magnetism is born out of alignment, out of her inner clarity, and out of the peace she holds within herself. She is no longer vibrating at the frequency of need or desperation, and because of that, her energy becomes irresistible. There is a calm power in her presence, a silent confidence that makes people lean in, wonder more, and value her differently. Magnetism is not about being overly available or constantly proving your worth. In fact, it often grows in the space where a woman has pulled her energy back, where she has turned inward and nourished her own well-being. She becomes magnetic when she chooses herself first, when she doesn't react emotionally to every shift in someone else's mood or effort. She doesn't need validation to feel valuable, and that self-assurance becomes palpable. People are naturally drawn to what feels grounded, and when her energy is centered and unshaken, others feel safe, intrigued, and captivated around her. This kind of magnetism doesn't fade with time because it's not built on external performance, it's built on internal alignment. She becomes someone who is both soft and strong, open but not vulnerable to manipulation, kind but not accommodating beyond her truth. She is not interested in convincing someone of her worth. She embodies it, and in doing so, she creates space for others to rise to her level or fall away without disrupting her balance. The men, in particular, respond to this energy in a deep and often unconscious way. They feel the absence of pressure, the lack of emotional chaos, and the presence of something deeper. A woman who knows her power and is not afraid to walk alone if necessary. This is what magnetism looks like when it's rooted in self-mastery and energetic wholeness. Alignment is the foundation of everything a woman begins to attract when she stops operating from emotional reactivity and starts embodying her true essence. When a woman is in alignment, she is not pulled in multiple directions trying to please, prove, or persuade. She knows what she values, what she desires, and most importantly, what she will no longer tolerate. Her internal world is congruent with her external actions. There is no longer a gap between who she is and how she shows up. This creates a coherence in her energy field that is felt by everyone around her. People respond not just to her words, but to her vibration. And when that vibration is clear and self-assured, it creates a sense of gravity. Alignment removes the need for strategy or manipulation. She doesn't need to figure out how to get to a man to act a certain way. She simply becomes the version of herself that naturally calls in what she wants. Her standards are not rigid. They are reflections of her internal state. She no longer asks for something she doesn't first give to herself. Whether it's love, consistency, respect, or presence, she offers it to herself so completely that anyone who comes into her field must match that energy or leave. This is the invisible filter that alignment creates. When a woman is aligned, she doesn't compromise her values for temporary connection. She doesn't dilute her truth to keep someone interested. Instead, she trusts that being true to herself is the only way to build anything real. That trust becomes the structure around her energy. It's unshakable. Alignment also brings clarity. She can feel when something is off, and she doesn't second-guess it. She listens to her body, her intuition, the subtle cues that tell her what is in harmony and what is not. And because she's no longer addicted to emotional highs or validation, she chooses what is right for her, even if it's uncomfortable. Alignment isn't about perfection, it's about integrity. And once she lives in that integrity, everything that enters her life is a reflection of that wholeness. Self-worth is not something a woman earns through the approval of others. It's something she remembers when she returns to herself. When a woman fully embodies her self-worth, she stops negotiating her value based on how someone treats her. She no longer tries to convince someone to choose her, love her, or see her. She already sees herself, and that inner recognition changes everything. It shifts her energy from one of seeking to one of knowing. And that knowing creates a frequency that others respond to on a deep, often unconscious level. A woman who knows her worth does not need to say much. Her presence communicates more than her words ever could. She no longer tolerates breadcrumbs or emotional inconsistency because she knows that what she offers is full, rich, and rare. she becomes a mirror, reflecting back to others the level of respect and effort they are bringing. If it's not in alignment, she lets it go without drama, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much about her peace to sacrifice it. This is not ego. It's embodiment, and it creates a powerful sense of trust in the universe, a trust that whatever leaves is making room for something greater. Self-worth also frees her from the emotional roller coasters that once kept her stuck. She no longer waits for text messages, overanalyzes words, or loses sleep over someone's lack of clarity. She doesn't make someone else's confusion her responsibility. Her emotional state is no longer dependent on another person's actions. That kind of sovereignty sends a signal. I am not available for anything less than mutual devotion. And men feel that. They feel the difference between a woman who is performing for love and a woman who is rooted in love, especially self-love. This internal sense of worth radiates outward. It affects the way she walks, the way she speaks, the way she decides. She no longer moves from fear of being alone, but from the fullness of already being whole. And from that fullness, everything shifts. Connection becomes deeper. Attention becomes intentional. Commitment becomes natural. Sovereignty is the energetic space where a woman no longer looks outward for direction, permission, or validation. It is the place where she becomes the authority of her own experience, where she begins to lead herself with clarity, certainty, and inner peace. This shift does not happen overnight. It is cultivated through conscious decision-making, through choosing herself again and again, especially in moments when it would be easier to abandon herself for the sake of connection or approval. Sovereignty means that she belongs to herself before she belongs to anyone else. And this self-ownership becomes the foundation of all her relationships. When a woman is sovereign, she doesn't operate from need. She doesn't manipulate, chase, or perform to secure someone's affection. Her energy is not extended in directions that deplete her. Because she understands that her presence is sacred, she is no longer in the business of convincing someone of her worth. She allows herself to be seen exactly as she is, without the layers of performance or compromise that once felt necessary. And in that full expression, she becomes magnetic. Not because she is trying, but because she is true. This energy communicates something powerful without words. It tells the world, and especially the masculine, that she cannot be possessed, controlled, or swayed by temporary emotion. She is grounded in herself, and that groundedness creates polarity. It creates an energetic invitation for others to meet her where she already stands, not pull her off center. Sovereignty also makes space for deeper love, because it removes the codependency and emotional bargaining that often infect relationships. She doesn't need someone to complete her. She desires partnership that reflects her wholeness. And when men encounter a woman like this, they feel something ancient and undeniable. It's not ego. It's not aloofness. It's resonance. The kind that invites presence, not performance. Depth, not distraction. It's the rare frequency of a woman who has returned to herself and remembered that she was never meant to be anything less than sovereign. Energetics is the invisible language that governs every interaction, every attraction, every moment of connection between two people. It goes far beyond words, beyond appearance, beyond behavior. It is the frequency a woman emits when she enters a room, the quality of presence she carries, the clarity or chaos that her energy communicates before she even speaks. When a woman becomes emotionally detached and aligned with herself, her energetic field shifts. It becomes clean, clear, and potent. She is no longer leaking energy in every direction, no longer trying to be chosen, seen, or validated. That stillness, that containment, is what makes her so powerful. People respond to energy more than anything else. A woman can say all the right things, do all the right things, but if her energy is rooted in fear, anxiety, or desperation, it will be felt. Conversely, when her energy is rooted in calm confidence and internal wholeness, it becomes magnetic without effort. She doesn't need to chase because her energy does the work for her. It speaks a language that only those aligned with her frequency can understand. She draws in what resonates and effortlessly repels what does not. Energetics is also the mechanism through which a woman shifts dynamics without ever needing to have a conversation. She no longer wastes energy trying to convince someone to rise to meet her. Instead, she rises in her own frequency and allows the energy field itself to do the sorting. The right people feel compelled to show up fully, while the wrong ones naturally fall away. There is no conflict in this process. It's vibrational. It's precise. It's intuitive. She becomes a mirror, and whatever is projected onto her is reflected back with clarity. If someone brings inconsistency or confusion, it becomes obvious against the backdrop of her internal certainty. This makes her incredibly effective in relationships because she's no longer caught up in stories or surface-level signals. She reads energy, she trusts energy, and she uses her own energy as her primary compass, adjusting not based on what people say, but on what they energetically reveal. This is where her true influence lies. Coherence is the state in which a woman's thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, synchronized, and vibrating in harmony. It's the moment her inner world stops contradicting itself and begins moving in one unified direction. And that truth creates the strongest form of attraction, not one based on strategy or seduction, but on frequency, alignment, and authenticity. It becomes less about appearance and more about the way her presence lingers, the way her energy invites, the way her absence is felt just as strongly as her presence. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect a woman's energy, preserve her peace, and define how she will allow others to show up in her life. They are not rigid walls, but rather flexible, self-respecting boundaries that communicate to the world. This is who I am, this is what I accept, and this is what I will not tolerate. When a woman becomes emotionally detached, she stops seeking external validation to set those boundaries. Instead, she draws them from an internal source of knowing, her inner compass. She no longer looks to someone else to decide what is acceptable to her. She already knows. With strong boundaries, she does not need to explain herself or defend her position. She simply holds her ground. Her energy remains unaffected by emotional manipulation or inconsistent behavior because her boundaries are clear and solid. When someone crosses them, she doesn't react from a place of fear or anger. She responds from a place of calm, knowing that her peace is sacred and she will not allow anything to disrupt it. She doesn't feel guilty for saying no, because she understands that every no is a powerful yes to her own well-being. Boundaries also allow her to engage in relationships from a place of self-respect. She is not trying to be liked or loved at any cost. Instead, she is attracting those who can respect her space, her energy, and her needs. Men, in particular, feel the strength of her boundaries. They are drawn to her not because she is playing hard to get, but because she is showing them exactly how she expects to be treated. Her boundaries allow her to be deeply present without being emotionally overextended or drained. She no longer overcompensates for others or sacrifices her own needs for the sake of keeping the peace. These boundaries create clarity, trust, and respect. They provide the structure needed to maintain emotional autonomy while fostering deeper, more authentic connections. A woman with clear boundaries does not need to chase love or approval. She simply holds her own, and those who can meet her there will find her. Mastery is the culmination of self-awareness, emotional control, and unwavering commitment to personal growth. When a woman reaches the point of mastery, she no longer operates from a place of reaction or emotional dependency. Instead, she responds to life and its circumstances with poise, intentionality, and self-assurance. Her emotions are no longer fleeting storms that govern her actions. They are signals, information that she can listen to and process without being consumed by them. She does not tolerate drama or emotional games, but invites only the relationships that mirror her own level of emotional maturity and self-respect. In every area of her life, this mastery allows her to maintain balance, to create peace amidst chaos, and to cultivate an inner strength that radiates outward. She is no longer held hostage by the highs and lows of emotional turmoil. Instead, she walks through life with confidence, grace, and the profound understanding that she is the creator of her own experience.